Welcome to the Gourds and Pomegranates podcast, talking common sense for church communications. Here's Hannah and Joe.
We are back on Gourds and Pomegranates with some more of our favourite tools and resources to help us in all our church comms endeavours. So feel free to find our other tools and resources episodes, give them a listen, especially if you're seeking out tools that can help save you time or save you money or increase the quality, whatever it might be. And we would also love to know if you've tried any of our suggestions from past episodes and how you've got on with them, or if there are any other tools that you'd like to recommend. So you can email us at hello@gppodcast.uk. Even if you're struggling with a particular comms issue, let us know. We might be able to recommend just the right tool for you.
Yep.
So, Hannah, you're first up today. What have you got for us?
Okay, so I've got a bit of a kind of a weird one. It's not weird. I love it. It's so cool. It's called Coolers.
Coolers,
yes. It's Coolors, not colours. Coolers. I mean, it's probably said colours, but Coolers. And you can find it on coolors.co, so COOLORS.co.
We'll put a link in the episode notes. It's
do.
confusing enough that the Americans don't include a U in the URL.
I know. But what it is a super fast colour palette generator. That's their tagline. But it generates, and you can browse like absolutely gorgeous colour combinations for all your design work. It is really difficult to explain kind of just audibly. It makes so much more sense when you go into the site and play about with it. So I definitely recommend going and just sort of exploring it just to help you understand before you really try to kind of use it. But essentially, I find it hard sometimes to not go back to the same colours, the same shades, or sort of combinations, palettes for certain projects. You know, especially for Christmas, you say Christmas colours and you immediately think red and green, maybe a touch of gold or something. But using a tool like this is really helpful to think outside of the box. You know, I've looked up green and then it's come up with kind of different shades of green. So you don't necessarily have the red, or, you know, I've picked out a goldy yellow colour and it comes up with sort of other navy blues and stuff that might go with it. But essentially, it's a colour palette generator, and it works in a couple of different ways. One of the ways is that you start with a colour, so whether that's your branding colour or it's one specific colour that you know that you have to or want to use, and it will find sort of complementary colours or sort of just palettes that work well with this colour. And you can ask it to randomly generate it, or you can select them yourselves. Or if you've got an image that you particularly like and you want to use that as inspiration, you can pick out a colour from that image or photo. And it lets you move the pickers within it to change the palette. So it's again great if you've got a particular picture of your church and you say, we really want to use this colour combination for, the summer social media content that's going out, and you can move it around. So actually you're not picking that wall colour, you're picking the glass colour, or you're picking a different sort of shade from the sky, which is really great, again, if you want to not necessarily use the image, but you want to sort of get the vibe from it, or if you are using the image and you want to sort of make sure that you've got the right colours that will work within your graphics for that. You can change the number of colour combinations, so I only want 2 colours, I want 3 colours, I want 10 colours. It will allow you to sort of change those options. You can lock certain ones, so I like those 3 and I just want to find another little highlight colour. And then you can literally just press the space bar and it randomly generates other colours to go along with it. Then once you've actually picked a palette, you can save it, so you can build a kind of catalogue to refer back to later. So I think I've got something like 20 different palettes of different sizes, of different shades for different projects. And it's really useful if you're going, actually, I can't remember what we used sort of last summer. It also gives you the codes in various formats to find the colour in other tools like Canva or Photoshop. And it's really important, actually, that you do have the right colours for different end games, whether that's just social, so you're just using it online, or actually if something needs to be printed, and so you do need a specific code for it.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Coolers as well. I use it quite often in my design and branding work, not just for generating palettes and saving them, but almost I think of it as like an Argos catalogue. Maybe some of the young people listening will never have experienced the joys of picking up a big fat Argos catalogue. But an Argos catalogue of all of these amazing colour palettes which other people have used.
Yeah.
And it might not be that you use those exact palettes, but it's really good inspiration. So in that sense, there's a little bit of a crossover with Pinterest, which was one of your chosen resources in the last episode, in that it can inspire you, but you don't necessarily need to copy it exactly. It can just inspire you to do something similar.
Definitely. And there's been times where I've gone, so I'm going to use Christmas as an example again. So I've gone with the greens and stuff, and I've got kind of 3 different shades of greens. That's cool. Right, I need something as like a highlight colour. And then it will come up with a pink or a blue. And I think, actually, that's not working on this occasion. Actually, I want more of like a gold or a sort of grey or something. But it's helped me to think of something for a future project, or just going, oh, I'd have never thought to put those together. Like, I don't particularly like yellow, but there are some nice mustards that I'm discovering colours I never really knew existed. So I find it like, it's just really fun. I mean, it's not an everyday tool. It's kind of like not one of those I can't live without it, like Trello or Google Drive that we've spoken about before. But I really do love the different features. It just offers sort of that chance to be a bit more creative and intentional about kind of colour design choices. And I found it definitely adds that next level to my work, because I am using colours that I wouldn't instinctively pick together, because, again, Christmas, well, we're going to put red and green together. I'm suddenly using a bit of a blue palette because I'm going a bit more icy for this one. And I wouldn't put them together necessarily, but actually it allows you to play around a lot more, and it sort of just be a bit more fun about what you're doing. And I think then that translates in what you do produce, because suddenly you're standing out from the crowd of 20 other posters in your village of it all being red and greens because it's Christmas.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and a really good recommendation for a great tool.
So Joe, what is your chosen tool for this episode?
Well, I'm a bit nervous about sharing this one. Obviously, you're the social media specialist,
Yes.
But my tool is Buffer. And that is a tool which we mentioned in our comms plan episode briefly.
Yep.
It's a tool for helping you schedule to social media accounts. So Buffer's, one of the taglines on their website, grow your following without draining your time. They say social media can be the fastest and cheapest way to build your following and grow your business, but it can also take up all your time. And one of the things that we're passionate about here on Gourds and Pomegranates is not taking over your life with church comms, not taking over all of your time, doing a good job, but in an efficient way. And that's definitely been the case for me in the past, that, I can be pretty lazy when it comes to organizing my business socials. And especially when it's something that takes up a lot of time, it means I'm less likely to do it. I'm just going to put it off and procrastinate and do something else instead. So Buffer has hugely helped me, especially in the past when I was running Church Train. I was scheduling regular blog content, but also being aware that I didn't just want to be posting my own blogs to Twitter or Facebook or wherever, but be sharing other helpful content as well and mixing it up. So why am I recommending Buffer rather than any of the other scheduling tools out there? For me, the main thing is that it works around this idea of a queue or queues, rather than specific times that you're having posts scheduled to go out. So that's not to say that you can't schedule something to go out on a Saturday morning if you want to make sure that it has been seen by people before the Sunday. But generally speaking, you have different time slots that you can set up. You can do that on a per network basis. So I can have different time slots for Twitter than I can for LinkedIn, for example. And then at that time slot, Buffer will just take the next thing from your queue and post it out to those networks. So that's really helpful for me because it removes some of the thought process about what am I going to post when. Mm-hmm. I just fill out that queue and it does it.
Definitely.
It's also really user-friendly. So you can use the browser extension in Chrome, for example, and then in a matter of clicks, you can schedule your content. So say I was on the Gourds and Pomegranates website, that's gppodcast.uk for all of your podcast needs. Say I was on the website and wanted to share it to social media. All I would do is click the Buffer button, the button for the extension, add any text I wanted, and then you could just tick which networks you want it to go to, and then you either add it to the queue, or if I wanted to share it straight away, you can do that as well.
Definitely. And like, I have used quite a few social media scheduling tools, and I have them, like, I use different tools for different clients and projects and stuff, and I can see the benefit of each of them. But I have to say Buffer is definitely the most user-friendly and just kind of easiest to navigate around, especially for those starting out. So if you look at some others and they can be really overwhelming, I think Buffer is definitely the place to start if you're first time trying out scheduling.
Yeah. And as well as being really easy to use, Buffer is absolutely free, at least for the first 3 accounts that you want to connect to it. So you can connect Facebook accounts, whether that's a page or a group. You can connect Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Again, that can be a page or a group, not a personal profile, as far as I'm aware. You can connect TikTok, a Google business profile. Now, not necessarily something I'd recommend connecting to Buffer, but definitely something that we're going to cover in a future episode.
Yeah.
And we can even connect Pinterest to it, as we've already mentioned, as that tool. So all of that, as long as you just choose the 3 accounts that you want to connect, that's free. You can add, I think there's probably a limit to how many things you can put in the queue at once, but that's per network. So it might be that you can add 10 pieces of content per network, but actually if they're going out twice or 3 times a week, then that gives you a bit of a gap or a bit of a buffer in your organization. So as well as a free account, there are paid subscriptions available. If you need more accounts, then you can do that. And it will also give you extra features as well. So it'll be $5 per month per account that you add. But it also gives you better analytics tools so that you can see engagement across different platforms at a glance. As well as tools which will actually let you respond to people directly within Buffer rather than having to log into the individual networks. So there are some really helpful tools there, but if you're just starting out, the free plan will absolutely do you fine.
Yeah.
And I recommend having a play around with it and seeing if it can save you time on your social media scheduling.
Yeah, nice. It's a good tool. So thank you so much for listening. As ever, we hope that you found these resources helpful. We'd really appreciate it if you'd be able to share the podcast with others who might find what we have to say in this episode and others useful. You can easily share our website with all the details at gppodcast.uk. We will be back soon with a new episode.